Hi, my name is Chris Talbot and I run Smash Bang Roar, a video production and post-production facility in San Francisco, California. So this is my explanation of Teams, what I learned using it, and an honest review. So in 2021, I was contracted by Calm to work on post-production team of a daily video series with 160 episodes planned. So we got about 30 episodes in with 10 people working on everything simultaneously. And we really started to feel kind of the crunch of producing daily deliveries. And with everything ramping up, that kind of set me on a quest to figure out how to streamline this process. So working in the cloud is new for most people. We've had this for years, but as far as like complete integration, I think COVID really stepped things up and forced us to figure out how to do this all remotely. And it really pushed the technology further. So I was pretty eager to get in and kind of check out a lot of this stuff. Adobe has two ways of working in the cloud. There's Teams and Productions. So Productions is an offline system, and it's capable of cloud integration, but you need a remote desktop or something like Lucid Link to host all the files. And we didn't really have that infrastructure with everybody working remote. We didn't really have access to physical servers. So for us, Teams was the obvious choice. So being built inside and made kind of for Premiere and Adobe Creative Cloud made it an easy sell for most of the team, although there were some reservations. Like where are these files stored? How do we get backups? It needed to be foolproof because nobody likes losing work. So I will say in the learning process and just through human error, we lost maybe 10 hours of work spanning 160 episodes. So, once you know how to use it, you're not going to lose work. And if you have everything you need to run this software and keep it from crashing, Premiere is notorious for crashing sometimes, but once you kind of figure out the system specs that you need and get everything configured, it's pretty stable software, and the same is true for Teams. So how does all this work? We had a DIT on set to ingest and create proxies. That was fed to an on-site server and synced via Dropbox. So all of our editors were getting their proxies from Dropbox. Assistant editors would assemble the footage on set into team projects in Premiere, and then once all the proxies were linked, those team projects were shared with the editors. So since we were in a studio and color remained constant, we were able to also apply LUTs generated in Resolve with Lumetri presets that we programmed. And then we also generated all lower thirds and titles and put those into the team projects. So everything was available all at once by the time we were fully rolled out with this system. So just to be clear what kind of efficiencies this brought, by the rough cut, producers were able to see color and graphics and make any necessary adjustments alongside the edit, when normally this was coming after the edit and it was taking an extra few weeks. So getting graphics set up was a little bit of a challenge. I mentioned there were a few issues. There's not much info on how to do this online, and it's not the same as dynamic links. You have to go through a pretty strict preparation process to get it to work. After Effects is kind of half integrated into Teams, but it does work if you do it the right way. So the team projects were created in Premiere and all the footage was prepped. After that step, the motion graphics were prepped in templates for everything that was approved. So we would open the team project in After Effects, drag in the template, share the changes, and then after that we could go back and open it in Premiere and drag those in. It's not like with the dynamic links though, where you can just drag everything back and forth and kind of work concurrently. So there is that change to get used to, but once we figured out how to do it, it did work pretty flawlessly with all the plugins and everything that we were using. And so if any changes were needed, I would just have to open up the project in After Effects and work as normal as you would with dynamic links. The most important part of the whole process and the biggest noticeable change once everything is set up in your browser window is there are these tiny little buttons, and it's kind of easy to miss them if you don't know what you're looking for. It's to get and share changes, and these can be accessed through the Edit Team Projects menu. I set keyboard shortcuts so I could still have that Control-S kind of habit that we've all gotten used to. So this is where they're located. If you have good internet, they'll light up and let you know kind of there's been stuff changed. If there are conflicts, if multiple people have been editing the same file, it'll ask you kind of which version of the comp you want to use or the sequence. And then you kind of just have to pick, and you can always go back and kind of change and grab stuff from other ones if you made a mistake. And that brings me to, if you do want to go back to other versions, you can actually go up to your browser window, and there's a little slider here that you can slide back from the beginning of the project. Every time it was saved and every time it was auto-saved, there's two separate menus. And you can go back and see every change that was made. So it's pretty cool that way. Having everything laid out like this with little sliders, very convenient. So as I mentioned, about 30 episodes in, we started with Adobe Teams. We did 35 segments with just the edits, just to kind of give it a test and make sure everything worked. And we finished another 120 episodes. And so the average time from camera to final export went from 7 weeks, doing things the traditional way, kind of exchanging everything manually, email, Dropbox, project files. With Teams, we got it down to 3 weeks. So less than half the time to get everything done.
Wow.
So if you have physical access to servers and you're on site in like a larger size team, Adobe Productions is the way to go. It takes a lot of IT to set it up, but once you're there, it is the traditional way of working. If you want to test out remote workflows like us, or if you just don't have access to physical servers, then Teams is awesome, and it does work. By the end of our full integration, we had complete episodes prepped by an assistant editor, then edited. The color correction was added, the graphic effects were added, audio, all simultaneously, and then it was delivered without exchanging a single project file. And as I mentioned, this saved us like half the time to pump out episodes, which was totally necessary working on a daily series. All that being said, it's not to say that Teams is without flaws. We had issues, as I mentioned, integrating graphics, some contributors with slower internet connections or older machines, or even machines that just weren't configured to, run Creative Cloud as efficiently as possible. They had problems. We got to one situation where somebody was just having to work on a project, save the file, close out Premiere, open Premiere, reopen the project, or open their next project. But between every one, they had to close out Premiere and reopen it. Personally, I had zero issues running it on a 2020 MacBook Pro with a wired connection that was around 50 megabytes per second from a router extension. So it was wireless, but directly plugged into an Eero router. So in my opinion, Adobe Teams is kind of what makes Creative Cloud worth it. There's always DaVinci Resolve if you don't want to pay for Creative Cloud, and I know they're coming out with their own cloud, but Adobe has the industry standard, and it works. They've been testing it, and some people have even been running it since, I think, 2017 it was originally released. But with all of these new expansions that they're doing with, they come from our need during COVID, it really has streamlined everything. So I appreciate you sticking out to the end of the video. I love talking about this stuff, and I'm always looking to stay on top of the most modern workflows and the best way of doing things. So if you have any questions, or if you just want to share kind of your workflow with me, I'd love to hear about it. You can contact me at chris@smashbangroar.com.